Hi there, welcome to my video. So today we're just going to be walking through a really simple blog application created in Laravel. Laravel is a PHP framework that makes it really easy to get websites up and running. I've just made a really simple blog website so we can kind of walk through it and we can take a look at a bunch of code and see what's going on behind the scenes. But first we'll walk through the actual website itself. So this is our landing page here. You can see that I'm actually running MAMP. On a Windows, which is interesting, but I'm running MAMP, so I'm running a server, local hosted server. So this is my web address here for that locally hosted website. You can see that we've got just a couple of buttons. If you're new here, you can sign up. We call this the Roadkill blog. You can sign up or you can sign in. Really simple bootstrapped Nav Bar here. If you need help setting those up, feel free to look at the bootstrap documentation. Really straightforward, pretty simple. But we're going to click through here just to kind of get a feel for what's going on. So if you click sign up, you're taken to a register page, and you can see we've got really simple name, email, address, password, and confirmation for the password. If you're already a member, then you can hit this little button here and it'll take you to the login page. But we're going to register a new user here. We'll go through logging in here in just a minute, but let's register Harry Potter. You can see I've already done this. Email address is HP83. I think he was actually born in 1983. I looked it up. Password is VOLDMORTSUX. VOLDRM. Oh, geez, I spelled that wrong. Voldemort sucks. See if I did it right. It's kind of a hard one to type. There we go. Look at that. I'm logged in. So you can see I've got up here, I'm at a landing page here, post index, so this will show all posts. I don't have it set up to show an else case, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute, but that's a future state thing. So you can see I've got my profile. I can go take a look at posts. I can go take a look at my profile, or I can log out. If I take a look at posts, it's going to load my user details. There's a default profile image that should be loading here, but it's not. That's another future thing that needs to be taken care of. And this whole page could actually be cleaned up. If I were going about this for a professional application, this would definitely not be the way I would make it look, but this is a relatively simple way to for me to make it look and make it just functional. So the you can see my name that I registered with is Harry Potter. My email is right there. We've got user since today, 5/21. At 23:23:13, which I suppose is I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so 4:30 Greenwich Mean Time, I guess. I don't know. You can see we've got an add a post button up here, so let's do that. And let's just add a simple post, my life story, and just to give it some actual body, I'm going to do some lorem ipsum paragraph. Oops. Sorry, paragraph. That will autocorrect. Sure. Try this one. It looks like I've done it before. Generate 5 paragraphs. And it loaded it all. We're going to copy it all. That's a lot, but it's all easy peasy. Copied in there. Boom. We got a post. Create post. And again, I'm going to show the back end to all of this and what's going on. So you can see we've got a stock image loading back here and behind it, and a bunch of lorem ipsum right here. Because it's my post, I can edit the post or delete the post. But that is right there, really simple. Let's see if we actually set this up here. I'm not sure if I set up the search bar or not. Looks like I... Oh, yeah, okay, so I set it up to be under construction. So that's cool. Awesome. So let's go to log out. And we'll just go ahead and log out of Harry Potter's profile here. See, we're taken back to the home screen. Let's go through signing in a different way. So you can see I clicked on the nav bar up there, and we'll do email address is hp83@gmail, and excuse me, password was Voldemort sucks. There we go. So you can see now the landing page we landed on has the one blog post that we got. It's got some rounded corners, some styling on it. It looks kind of nice. It's actually an anchor tag, so I can click on it. It takes me to The page we were just looking at. I can edit it. So let's go through this really quick. So edit post brings up that basically the same screen, just update post instead of edit. And you can see we've got it all loaded in there. For some reason, the new line characters are not loading in the HTML paragraph tag, so that's something else. But, oh, I was going to update something, but I clicked on that. That's fine. We'll just leave it that way. So we're good, and we can actually delete it. I'm not going to do that because I want to leave it in there, just so we can get a look at the database and see what it looks like. So, and let me look at my time here. I only have 15 minutes on my free recording, so if I have to go to part 2, I apologize. Just be aware that there probably will be a part 2, because it might go a little long. Okay, so let's dive into some code and take a look at it. So you can see I'm running Visual Studio Code here. With Laravel, the first thing to look at is the web.php. You'll find that in routes/web. There's a lot of things in here. Don't need to really worry about those, especially for something as simple as this, but we've got a web.php, and this is where we're going to load all of our routes. So this is where we're going to load all of our routes here. So we've got the search routes. We've got a test route that just returns a test view. I can actually probably get rid of that. Then we've got that home route, and routes are super simple. If you're looking at a route, it's actually a helper, but when the user gets the /search URI, that they're going to be redirected to the search controller class at the show method. And we'll get into each of these in a minute. We're not going to go through all of them because they're pretty standard. But I will go through a couple just so we can take a look at it. You can see I've divided it into different different controllers. So we've got a create post controller, an update post controller, a post controller for general post stuff, and then a user controller for general user stuff. This auth routes thing here is something that is what gives me all of the routes for the logging in and logging out and generating registers and all of that kind of stuff. It actually generates database stuff too on the back end. We'll get into a little bit of that. But this is kind of where you're registering each of your paths in your website. So the different URIs are registered right here, and then what they map to is right here. You can name routes, which makes it easier for me later to say, a button that hrefs to route called home, and it'll route to this one. There's middleware. Middleware is something that protects your routes. I used a couple of auth middleware is another thing that comes with this auth routes thing. That actually comes with Laravel out of the box. It protects your route, so only people who are logged in can hit the endpoints on these two routes. You can see down here that I wanted to make a new middleware called admin, but I couldn't do that because I didn't have time. It was out of the scope of this, but that is a future thing too. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of these. So let's go through a really simple one. Post/index routes to post controller class at index method. I named it show all posts. So let's go to post controller here. Post controller, and you can see I've got index, show, and read and delete. And the index method here, really simple. I'm logging a debug thing to. Okay, so the index method, we're just logging something to it actually logs to a file. That's beyond the scope of this recording, but it will log to a file, and you can see that file. Where is it? Let me remember here. Storage logs. And I set it up to do, I think, debug.log. There it is. So you can see entering post controller that show. I have them all over the place. And then this with stuff is with certain IDs and that kind of thing. So this is a log file here. It logs using a facade. That's some in-depth Laravel stuff. If you're looking for any more information on Laravel, a great resource is laracast.com. That's where I learned almost all of this. They have a great web series called Laravel from scratch. Laravel 8 from scratch specifically is the version that we're on, and it's incredible. I've even watched, Laravel from scratch 6 and then watched Laravel 8 and still was able to learn more. Watched it multiple times actually. It's amazing, super helpful, and I think Laravel is the easiest way to make websites nowadays. So great resource for you there. But we're looking at here, and it's just returning a view called posts.viewAll, and it's giving this information. So we're getting posts from the database. We'll get into that in just a second, but let's take a look at this view. So we're returning a view called posts.viewAll. So let's go down into our views directory down here. And I am doing a terrible job of explaining this. So if you need more Laracasts, again, super, super helpful, and we'll explain this far better than I can. So posts.viewAll. So here's our views, posts file right there. I'm going to open up the post, and when you see we've got a viewall.blade.php. Really cool thing about Laravel is that it ships out of the box with something called Blade templating engine. So the Blade extension on all of these means that I can use things like @extends layouts.main. If we look into my layouts file and look at main.blade, we're creating a layout here that I can use for every single one of my pages. So those routes register or map to certain views, like the post, like we were looking at in the post controller. It was mapping to that view, viewall.blade, and then from there we're loading this layouts.main. So then it's going into layouts.main and loading all of this, and then where it says @yield nav bar, it's making a view out of nav bar. So that's another view that we can take a look at. That's, again, these are really simple, and I'm giving a really quick overview of a lot because I don't have a lot of time. But this nav bar here is just a really simple bootstrap nav bar. Again, a couple of Blade directives in that it gives you the ability to register like @auth. So if somebody is logged in, they will see this drop-down menu item. But if they're not logged in @else, they'll see this sign in view. And that's how, when I was signing in, you can see this drop down, but if I were to log out, you see that this updates to say sign in. Blade is really, really helpful, really, really amazing. And it even gives you things like if this @CSRF is cross-site request forgery. Laravel out of the box again comes with cross-site request forgery protection, which cross-site request forgery is a way of essentially hacking a website and making it do things that a user didn't intend to by hijacking their login. This generates a token that is unique to the session, and it actually validates that every time any form is submitted through the back end. Laravel validates that cross-site request forgery token and makes sure that you are actually who you say you are, so that nobody can come from somewhere, hijack your login, and use it to get into the back end of the website. Really great stuff. Super, super helpful. Something that I wouldn't have even known how to do myself, but Laravel, all I have to do is write 5 characters, and it's got that protection right there for me. Okay, we're loading the nav bar from this layout. And then down here, you can see we're @yield content, but we don't give it a view, kind of like we loaded this view here into that yield. But why don't we load a view here? That's because this yield and this yield right here are things that then I can call from other files. So you can see in my view all file, we're loading @section content. This is going to essentially, Laravel is going to go through that layouts file, find the yield for content, and paste all this inside of that. And you can see we started with an @section and ended with an @end section. So it just essentially takes this whole block inside of the section here and sticks it inside the main.blade.php. So it's super helpful for making something that you want on every web page. For example, the nav bar, I want that to show up on every single web page, so I'm going to put that in my in my layout, and then every time I do a new one, make a new view, I'm going to load this layouts.main, and it's going to just start plopping stuff into the sections that I give it. Super nice. This @for each, as you would in any other programming language, you're looping through something, this posts as post, this is the thing that I told you we were grabbing something from the database, which I promised we're going to get into in just a second, and we will. But this posts is essentially a variable that we passed in through here, through an array. So we're passing in a variable posts that maps to this database call. Again, getting to that in a second.